You hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/inkdependence keeps this channel ad-free. Hey folks, welcome to Inkdependence. I'm Mike, and this is the box for Wearingeul's Taming of the Shrew, which is a Pen Chalet exclusive. Thank you, Pen Chalet, for sending this out for me to review and show people. I've been using this for a little while, and it is a really interesting ink. I first saw this when they were promoting it a while back, and I was like, that looks really good, and so I was hoping they'd send me some, and they did. Inside that box, you'll find this little card, which has a little bit more information about the thing. Glistening, it shows that rose gold shimmer there. Gives you the RGB and the Pantone numbers for this ink, which is pretty cool. And then some before use stuff. Basically, it says, don't drink it, put the cap back on, don't put it in fire. I don't know what happens if you do. I'm a little curious. And then this says, hey, if you're using a shimmery ink, maybe don't put it in very expensive pens or extra fine nibs. You'll have a bad time. You might have to wash it periodically. So I've actually had it in this pen, which is one of my trusty TWSBI Ecos. These things are great with shimmer. These are kind of my go-to shimmer pens, or at least one of them. And you can see it looks really good in this pen. I mean, this is the bottle that it comes in. You can see there's a lot of shimmer in there. A little bit of a shake. It's a very, very fine shimmer. I've had 0 times where this pen has given me a hard start or stuttered or anything because of the shimmer. I think it works pretty darn nicely. It's a nice little 30 ml bottle as well. The label looks great. I kind of wish the ink was a little bit more like the label than it actually is, but we'll see that in just a sec. So let's take a look at it on some paper. And here we have my usual Rhodia 80 grams per square meter paper. And I say the flow here is a little bit on the thin side. It's not really wet or dry particularly, but it is a little bit on the thin side, like a lot of these undersaturated inks. Just sort of thin, but pretty medium. I haven't seen it bleed or feather or anything. In fact, very, very little bleed on the copy paper. And this pen has just a broad nib on it, so it's about as wet as TWSBI's usually get, and it's been great. So let's take a look at it on that copy paper, which is this Staples 20-pound, 30% recycled copy paper, which is junk tier copy paper. I think it looks actually really good on this paper. It's very readable. It's a little bit lighter, I think, in real life than it is coming up on the screen there, but not much. It's turned out pretty readable. Fair amount of shimmer in various places, no feathering or anything like that, and really just a couple little dots of bleed here and there. That is not bad. I mean, most things will bleed on this paper. It takes something kind of special to not bleed on this bad paper. So, good stuff for that. The swatch here, I think, came out looking real nice. It's got a whole bunch of different gradients going on there. You can see dark greens-ish, well, dark-ish areas here, and then sort of a light green area, and then a bunch of that rose gold shimmer in various places. And I think it works out pretty well. It seems to disperse itself well and quickly in the pen and in the nib, ink and all that jazz, and so you get shimmer sort of throughout, except for the end of this word. I got some in the eye, and then just here, not much, which was interesting. I'm not sure why that is exactly. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our water test of this ink. Let's get some water on here, and then we'll look at it on some other papers, look at it next to a couple of other inks that are at least a little bit similar. Let's get some over here. I don't really have much in the way of hopes for this one being water resistant at all, but there might be something left. I guess we'll just have to see. All right, come on, get a little shimmy. And as you can see here, it is a $20 bottle for this 30 ml glass bottle, so not too bad. I think that's pretty good for this kind of ink. Let's mop this up. Mop, mop, mop. I don't think this is going to end up being anybody's everyday ink, but it is definitely a really interesting ink to use sometimes. That's kind of cool. So the things that stuck around are the shimmer. The shimmer didn't really move, so you get most of that word and most of the dots and some suggestion of line there. So interestingly, if you spill water on this, you'll be able to recover it through the shimmer. Weird, huh? All right. Here's the chromatography for this ink, and as you can see, nothing stuck around here except for that shimmer, which should not surprise us at this point. And then you see some yellowy green stuff and some light blue, and that's really kind of all you got. Here it is on some various papers. This is on a Maruman Croquis page. I really like this Croquis paper. It's nice and light. You don't get any bleed through, really not as much show through as you would think either. I really like this stuff, and I think it worked perfectly well on this paper. The one thing I will say about this ink is that it dries very readable, but it goes down very light. So when you're writing with it, it will look barely visible, and then as it it dries, it darkens, and the shimmer pops through, and you can really read it, which is a little bit unsatisfying for me. I like to write with the pen and see the ink on the paper as I write. It's like, I don't know, it's kind of one of the things I think is really fun about fountain pens, and this doesn't really give me that. So like that's a little bit disappointing, but I do really like the way it looks at the end, and I love that shimmer combo. I think that's pretty cool. So works great on the Maruman Croquis. Then we have here, this is Inky Fingers. This is my wheat straw paper notebook. And you can see right there, looks totally fine. This is absolutely readable. I was worried it was going to be too light and you wouldn't be able to read it at all. And honestly, I would like it if it was a little bit darker. Like if it was a few shades darker, have more of this sort of, I don't know, limey, olivey tone than we get here. It's a little bit less yellow on the label. I think this would be just ultra amazing, but this is actually, you know, still very, very good. So pretty cool there. And then lastly, we have some Tomoe River in this Gale & Leather Co. Everyday Notebook right there. And it's a little bit extra yellow, I think, on this page. Little cat hairs, man, everywhere. Katy Perry, leaving those behind. So I think it's very readable, but lighter than in the other areas because it just doesn't soak in, you know? But still, cool color combo. All right, let's look at this next to a bunch of other inks. And when I say a bunch, I mean like 3 because, frankly, there's not much that is this color. This is a very interesting color and not one I really have. This is a Colodex card. You can find a link in the description to where to find these. This is what I use for all of my ink swatching. And there you go. There's a writing sample with that. Oh, I had it in a broad sig to begin with, and I switched the nib out. I was like, I don't know, let's just try this with a regular old broad. Do a regular broad here. I'll just do a little writing sample. And like I was saying before, you can see that it goes down much lighter, and then it will sort of darken as we go here, as it dries, and that shimmer will start to pop through, which is really, really adds to the readability, I think, of this. But definitely totally readable as it is. Let that dry for a sec. There you go. Pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. So there we go. There's Taming of the Shrew. And then as I was looking through things, I only found a few things that were kind of close. I have this card, which I got from... I don't have this one. This is not an ink that I have. This is Pen BBS 342. And it did sort of remind me of this line down here and this green over on this side. This was, I think, sent in a package. I think Anna at Well Appointed Desk sent me this. Just kind of like threw it in the package. It's a pretty cool thing to just throw in. And then this one is Robert Oster's Australis Tea, which I got from my friend Kimberly, which is definitely, I think, darker than Taming of the Shrew, but same kind of thing. And then this one, I don't know, this one might be closest, but it's, again, this is too light. So this is Diamine Cult Pen's Summer's collection, Lime Ice Lolly, which is much more yellow. And we don't, of course, don't have any of the shimmer. I didn't have anything that was even close in the shimmer category. So I have lots of shimmery greens, but nothing like that. So this is somewhere in between these two, I think. Maybe kind of like this, but I'm not sure exactly what this ink ends up looking like, but there are some cases where it at least looks pretty light. But somewhere in between Australis Tea and Cult Pen's Lime Ice Lolly is where you'll find Taming of the Shrew. So check out this little Wearingeul ink. This is actually only the second Wearingeul ink I've ever gotten. I have one other that I'll be reviewing very soon, but this is fun, and it writes and performs really well in the pen. So yeah, no regrets. I think it's pretty good. So check this out over at Pen Chalet, and thank you very much, Pen Chalet, for sending this out. Also, hey, check this graph up here. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, but you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe to the channel, because most people aren't. And, help us get to 10,000 subscribers. That would be cool. And then onward. So thanks very much for watching. You'll find me in another video very soon. Peace out.